India's first Prime Minister in terms of the number of days he has served in office as elected Prime Minister. And once that is done, he is going to outpace that. Now, there are a lot of things we can talk about comparing Prime Minister Narendra Modi with Jawaharlal Nehru, but I believe that what Prime Minister Narendra Modi has done, he has actually ushered the Second Republic. The data will be played on the screen, and I really don't want to get into it because it's going to be publicly available to everyone. Without wasting any time, let me introduce Ajay Singh, senior journalist, former press advisor to the President of India, and Dr. Ashwani Kumar, professor at TIS. And I start with this preamble. Is this the Second Republic? And I'll take this question to Professor Ashwani Kumar. Do you think it's the Second Republic under Prime Minister Modi?
Indeed, Karthike, this is not just historic in the sense of a paradigmatic and radical shift in the history of independent India, but also perhaps, it goes deeper and deeper, what the Prime Minister achieved, What I would like to say, this new republic, or the Second Republic, also radically reconstructs and reconfigures the very idea of India very differently. So Prime Minister, I would go to the extent, as I have been talking about for a long time, that Prime Minister is uniquely blessed with, very different kind of, value systems in terms of ruling a nation. So I'm remembering, in the midst of, night when India got independence, and people referred to the utterance of a repressed soul of the nation. Perhaps Prime Minister Modi has achieved that, realized that, repressed soul of a nation. So what I'm trying to say here in terms of political and sociological analysis of this milestone, that moving from the state-led project of development, or nation building, what the Prime Minister has done, I would go to the extent of, using ancient Indian ideals of kingship, something that, Prime Minister has arrived like a Chakravarti. So he's not just a ruler, but also becoming, in terms of the patron of a civilizational project. This is a huge qualitative difference between Nehru's project or Nehru's idea of India and the Prime Minister Modi's idea. And for this, only he should be given the credit.
Okay, let me go across to Ajay Singh. Sir, your opening comments.
Well, I entirely agree with Professor Ashwani Kumarji. I won't be able to articulate in this kind of theoretical fashion because I've been all my life a reporter. Thank you, sir. So, but yeah, he's right, because you look at the rejuvenation of the temples all across India. I mean, construction of the temples and restoring it to pristine glory. So all those projects, they were never conceived of as a part of the state action. So this is something which has never been achieved in the past, and as professors have said, that it's a repressed soul. I mean, it's a kind of articulation of the repressed soul. So that is very much there, and it sends across a kind of cultural unity, message of cultural unity. So that is something which no other Prime Minister has achieved. And this Nehruvian model, which was substantially a part of Gandhian legacy. So that has been changed because he has reimagined the politics in a very different way, profound way. So I think the course of politics on which he has set upon the country, it cannot be altered now. It will go on this path only. So that is my opening remark.
That is why I said the Second Republic, drawn from the very idea of the French Revolution. Because if Professor, if I am not wrong, it's the Fifth Republic. The France is defined, and it has not gone back to the First Republic. So, okay, there are two things here. The Nehruvian consensus, the center of politics, is shattered. But there is one thing which defines this Prime Minister: his sense of unapologetic politics. One, his anchorage in the civilizational sense of Bharat, that's number two. And number three, and which is the most, and I would say the most important of all, the change is not political. The change he has instituted has been at the level of society, which a lot of prime ministers missed. They have their contribution, I am not here to belittle them, but the societal churn which Prime Minister Modi has created, brought about, is unparalleled. Isn't so?
Yeah, yeah.
Professor?
You want me to respond?
Yes. Yes.
Karthike, a couple of things, I would like to mention here. And Ajaji, thank you very much for appreciating my theoretical framework. Coming back here, something that is, I'm saying, if you look at what Prime Minister has done, and you have, Karthike, you spoke very eloquently about his project. And let's remember that Prime Minister is at the middle, of his journey, coming from a very humble origins, So if you look at the national project, the whole decolonization project, perhaps let's give credit to him leading this, decolonization project, and raising this, national renewal, national consciousness. So from, India, elite-based, narrow-based conception of India or idea of India to a mass-based, a societal level. And let's not forget about more than 900 million people are under 35. So Prime Minister, that's what I'm saying, that he's arrived in the middle of his journey as a Chakravarti, and importantly, if you look at, in terms of the models, leadership model, and here I'm not using the Western paradigm, but our own paradigm, where the Prime Minister encompasses both ascetic ideals of the great Indian tradition and at the same time committed to advancing the economic aspiration of India. I've just come back from the USA. I was serving there as a visiting professor, and I was talking about rise of this India is not the ordinary rise. It's a spectacular miracle rise, which can be compared to the civilizational project of China. When China aspires to become middle kingdom, why not India? And that's kind of a national consciousness that the Prime Minister has given in the middle of his journey. That's beautiful journey, and that's something quite miraculous also, that how can a man such a simple origin, such a social origin. So we live in an age of revolution, and perhaps Prime Minister Modi in the Second Republic has becoming that kind of leading protagonist of an age of a revolution in India at this point of time.
I think also because of the fact, I think he's a great learner. His learning curve, Prime Minister Modi's learning curve has not ended. If you look at him from 2002 till now, I think the sort of learning curve he has demonstrated is unprecedented. But Mr. Singh, what makes him different from all other leaders of RSS BJP? Is he cut from different cloth, sir? Or same cloth, but he has something different in his personality?
No, he is inspired by the RSS. His ideological foundation is RSS. There is no doubt about it. But having said that, I would say that he has devised his political strategy in a manner that he brings in so many innovative methods. So if you see him, I have seen him since 1995 as BJP secretary, from secretary to general secretary, from general secretary to chief minister. His capacity to learn is enormous. So that is one thing. And when he became the chief minister, he never hesitated to take decisions which were not, which initially people thought that it is difficult. For instance, this rationalization of power. He was the first one to introduce three distribution system. He divided it in three parts. agriculture, industry, and homes, domestic. So, as a result, what happened that he incurred the wrath of farmers in Saurashtra region. In 2007 election, I have seen that people were so unhappy with him, but he was least bothered because he thought that he is taking the right decision. Similarly, there were developmental projects and so many hundreds of temples and this other religious sites, they were removed. But they were removed with the help of local people. So even if he takes some contentious decision, which is normally not acceptable, he would take along all the stakeholders. So that is something which he has done, and he did it in his home state, and he did it otherwise also.
Okay. Okay.
This is some,
Yeah. Please complete. Please complete, sir.
yeah. So this is something which I had seen, and he has been doing it all along. I mean, he has never been averse to take controversial decision, even if it evokes some kind of reaction, he would stand by it. But at the same time, if he feels that reaction is very strong, he would, what he would do is that if you recall that this Land Ceiling Act, so he didn't hesitate to take it back, Agriculture Reforms Bill. So he will not stand on his prestige on certain issues, but at the same time, he will not hesitate to take any decision which he thinks is right course.
Okay. Dr. Ashwini Kumar, is it correct that the real subalternization of the top political power structure really happened under him, if I may use the word, the academic word, subalternization of the top power structure, like subaltern Hindutva, which became all-encompassing, broke from that, the upper caste imagination, even from the power structure. If you look at the Council of Ministries, the representation of the backwards Dalits, it's huge.
It is indeed huge, and we have been, suggesting and saying that Prime Minister Modi is the principal protagonist of this subalternization of politics. Not just, and if you see now, the NDA, I mean, like, or the Prime Minister this tenure, he has also become, I can see the parallel between Atalji and the Prime Minister, a coalition builder. I mean, look at the continental size country, and the way the Prime Minister, if you look at, as I mentioned that as like Chakravarti, he's winning elections after election, and at the same time, perhaps we have missed out what the Prime Minister has done. No Prime Minister has ever done in our independent history, at least in our lifetime, that he has completely delegitimized the dynastic politics.
Not only that, Professor, he has actually resolved certain issues which the founding fathers could not, and parked it in the directive principles.
Indeed.
And most of our political controversies actually stem from directive principles, because those were unresolved issues of the Republic.
Yeah. So, in fact, I would go and, taking this inspiration from the great political thinker Lasky, that the Prime Minister single-handedly, not just subalternized, but also changed the grammar of politics, And he has been, kind of systematically, painstakingly, and taking the lead himself beyond RSS, I would tell. The Prime Minister beyond RSS is reconstructing, reconfiguring the very political and cultural map of the national consciousness. That credit must be given to the Prime Minister, and this is where, the Prime Minister, humble social background, the ability to lead makes him uniquely endowed leader compared to other great leaders in the world, as I have been talking about, comparing him, in fact, to Nelson Mandela, in fact, Deng Xiaoping. Those are the models, European models. The Prime Minister going back to his civilizational project, and something no politician, no ruler has ever done in our living history.
I think it's also also, I think it's also, I'm not going to use after him, but like builder of modern India, we have a new parliament, Ajay ji, we have new ministerial buildings, and most important of all, I think this, there's a word in Hindi which is better suited than renewal, because renewal is very French. जीर्णोद्धार जो हुआ है हिंदू आस्था के प्रतीकों का, नहीं तो उन्हीं गंदे घटिया रास्ते से आपको दर्शन करने पड़ते थे. I think that is unprecedented.
Yeah, that is something new. When I was a reporter, some 15 years back or 20 years back, I would never have imagined that this Article 370 would be resolved. I would have never imagined that Ram Janmabhoomi would ever be resolved. When I visited Imphal some 15 years back, there was no BJP in Imphal. In northeastern region, that BJP will be a party which will have its own government, it was unthinkable. So all those things have been achieved. So these are not small things. These are something, it's a radical shift. So what he has done is that the Congress, the predominance of Congress of 50s
Yes.
or 60s, he has replaced it with the BJP. So, and mind you, this BJP, the organizational structure of BJP is more solid, more redoubtable as compared to Congress. So my understanding is that the organizational structure is, yeah, you were saying something.
No, I'm running short of time, but you said something very beautiful, and it is on this note I'm going to end this conversation, because what he has done is to create a truly modern democratic political structure for the republic, which is non-dynastic in nature. The first political party, Congress, should have done it, but it turned into a dynasty. And what is the most important part? Liberal Party is supposed to be the non-dynastic in nature, but it is Bharatiya Janata Party with civilizational moorings, which is described by Western philosophers as right, has created a democratic structure where people from wherever they are, whichever place they are born, to whoever they are born, they can end up becoming Prime Minister if they become important in the political party. I think that is the biggest contribution of Modi, backed by RSS. I think that's the most beautiful thing you have said, and it is on this note I'm ending this program, because I need to pass on the baton. It's already 8 p.m. But we will further have this conversation if time requires, tomorrow, day after tomorrow, because I don't think his contribution can be summed up in 20 minutes. Thank you both of you, and this is all I had in On Point. I'll see you tomorrow at the same time. Thank you and good night.
Any policy can succeed at the ground level only when it is backed